What up, what up, what up? New York Giant Nation and football fans all over the world. It's your boy Mac the Giants fan with my super dope co-host Adam Costas. This is the Real Deal NFC East Round-up. Hit that intro, baby.
Cash flow.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another off-season edition of the Real Deal NFC East Round-up. What's going on with you today, Adam, man? How you feeling today, man?
I am feeling good. I've got my New York Giants sunglasses on just so I can be sipping the Kool-Aid because at Giant Camp it's very bright outside, so I need to make sure that I'm coming in with it today. But I'm excited because this is the start of the march of the NFC East Real Deal Roundup. We're here till the Super Bowl and then some, but I'm so glad to finally be doing this on a weekly basis with my man, MacDaGiantsfan fan. I appreciate you for having me be a part of this with you. I'm loving it, and this is going to be a great show.
No doubt indeed, man. No doubt indeed. And I just want to thank you for doing this with me as well, man. Like you just said, for everybody that didn't just hear what the man just said, we will be coming at you right now each and every Wednesday evening at 5:30 p.m., unless the time has to change for any other given reason. But every Wednesday night, we've been coming at y'all with the Real Deal NFC East Roundup at every Wednesday until the end of the season. Oh, that ain't
Yes,
my
we
Mitch.
will.
I got to change my avatar.
Oh my God! you don't want people mistaking you, man.
No, not at
So-
all.
People, this is going to be a predominantly NFC East show. Doesn't mean we're not going to talk about things that are going on in the NFL, but we want to stick to these four teams for right now. Please join us in the chat because we are about to light this thing up. I'm about to put some gasoline on it, and Mac's about to light the match. Whenever Mac is ready, let's go.
Yeah, we're going to start off the show. What's going on, Mitch, man? We're going to start off the show, man, talking about them Washington Commanders, man.
Ugh.
Things going on down in Washington, but I'm hearing some good things going on down here. A lot of people seem to continue to sleep on this football team, man. Like we were talking about on our last edition of this Real Deal Roundup, man, NFC's Roundup. This Washington team is definitely, I think, a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I think they're a well-coached football team, and I think that things I'm hearing down in the camp, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, man. And we'll start off. You want to start off with the Jahan Dotson, man? Hearing good things about their first-round draft pick out of Penn State, out there really stepping it up, making big, huge plays in camp, and showing off the skill set. And he's letting them know, letting everybody know the reason why the Washington Commanders took him so high in the draft.
Well, it's funny because you look at the Commander team, and by the way, this little nugget we're going to get into, they all have Commanders on the back of their jersey. There are no names present right now. So Dotson, you're going to have to know if you're going to camp Washington Commander fans by number. But him doing well right now is actually great for the Washington Commanders. Why? Because now you're going to have a guy that people are going to have to focus on when Terry McLaurin gets double teamed. Right, Mac, you love Terry McLaurin. I think Josh Dotson really helps him out. I think it's going to exponentially grow his game. The one thing I do want to say that people need to watch out for, which Mac mentioned, is they're getting a little confidence down there. Now, I don't know if it's because Carson Wentz is there and he's throwing. Actually, I am going to say it's because Carson Wentz is down there and he's making throws that Tyler Heineke couldn't make. Now, granted, whatever you think about Carson Wentz, that's fine. I get it. He's not great. He didn't have a great season in in Indianapolis. I hear all that. But when you're comparing him to what they had prior, it really is an upgrade. And when you look at it like that, a guy that's competent, a guy that can throw the ball downfield is only going to help a guy like Dotson, right? A guy who can come in and learn the playbook, but also learn how the game is played. Because on the opposite side, they've got Terry McLaurin, and Mac, I think you said it right. I think we're sleeping on this team. And I don't want to poo-poo them or not give them the respect that they deserve, but I know it's Jeffy T said the best. It is hype season. It is a season of hype, but you've got to look at things with a wide lens, right? Look what they did. Were they really a bad team last year? Yes, they had their struggles. The quarterback wasn't good. They had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the football, but they ended up winning 6 games. A lot of them, the game against the Giants, they were basically trying to give us the game, but we were too incompetent to get out of our own way to take it. Now you bring in a coaching staff who has a firm belief in their quarterback, who now has a better offensive system. Their offensive line is I know that they lost Brandon Scherff, but that doesn't mean much to me. I think when you have a guy like Carson Wentz, he can really mask some of your deficiencies.
Absolutely. Like you said, that's just the fact that you upgrade the quarterback position. You add yet another big weapon on the outside with Dodson. You already got, to me, who's one of the best wide receivers in the league in Terry McLaurin. You got you got a solid run game. Antonio Gibson still has a little more things to prove, but you got a solid run game. You got a running back that's capable of making very explosive plays out of your backfield. I mean, you got the weapons. You got a decent tight end, Logan Thomas, if he can once he can get healthy. They got a lot of good pieces in place offensively, and we already know what their defense is capable of. And I expect a much better season a better year out of their defense than we got last year. I think last year was an aberration. Chase Young went down. The secondary didn't play quite as well as expected. And I think you're going to get a much better Washington Commander defense as well this season. So I don't know.
I just think, Ron, you said something today that resonated with everybody, or maybe it was the hurry up the other day. You said coaching matters, right? So Ron Rivera is a coach that I respect, and I believe right now he's got the quarterback in place that he wants that is going to get him. Think of what he did with Cam Newton, right? He had a quarterback in Cam Newton that ran around and made plays for him. They went to the Super Bowl. Now you give him a guy like Carson Wentz, who 3,500 yards and 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions is better than any quarterback they've had in the last decade, outside of maybe Kirk Cousins, who is not here anymore because they didn't believe he was a starting caliber franchise guy. So now take that with what Mac just said about Chase Young coming back. They're getting back some guys from injury. They're going to move Jamon Davis around, I think, and take him out of the middle. This team, especially in this division where apparently everybody thinks we can win, you've got to really look and see what they're doing over there in Washington. I know they have a lot of issues in terms of their front office and the scandal going on, but if you watch what's going on the field, they're quietly putting in the work. They don't rah-rah. I mean, think about it. Think about it, people. They don't even have names on the back of the jerseys. That means they're trying to unify as one. Their goal is to be one team, no individuals. And, that may not work. It may work, but that's an interesting technique that I haven't seen in a while, where you're not even, having names on the back. That's like Notre Dame. Notre Dame didn't have any. Excuse me?
I was gonna say the last time I remember something like that was when Bill Parcells was coaching the Cowboys and they had to earn their star on their.
Exactly. And now I'm not saying I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's what he's going to do. But to me, when people do that, try to tell me is like we're bigger than just the individual. You know what I'm saying? What's up, NYG 22?
NYG 22.
That's my guy right there. Good guy. Came on to hurry up. No, Max really my guy. I'm not trying to talk with other people. Max my one and only, my ride or die right here. But what I'm saying is, don't sleep on the Commanders.
Absolutely, man. I just think this team is going to make a lot more noise than people are expecting them to. And
they're going to be pesky. Think about it. They open up with the Jacksonville Jaguars, right?
They can be in the mix for this division, legitimately be in the mix to win.
Let's see who they open up with.
Let me check that real quick.
So their schedule looks as this, right? They open up with the Jaguars and the Lions back-to-back weeks, right? And they don't play a divisional game until the 25th against the Eagles. So I'm not saying they're going to come out the gate gangbusters, but if they win a few of these couple games they have on the schedule that are early on, right?
Yes, sir.
We went through the schedule already, but let's just say they have two back-to-back games and they play the Titans. So if they split with the Eagles and Cowboys, then they go in the Titans game, right? And let's say they end up with a Titans game and they lose. That'll be like 3-2 after 5, and then they play the Bears. So now we're talking about maybe 4-3, and then they play the Packers, and then they play the Colts, right? So if they can get off to a decent start, they can weather some of the storm of the schedule that's kind of tight. And then in the middle, they play the Giants December and the Giants December 18th. Those could be games that eliminate the Giants or boost them up. Who knows? But if this team is as competent as we think they can be, they're going to be in some of these games. I mean, like the Browns, they play January 1st. Who knows what's going to happen on that day, right? Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, because like when it comes down to, I think they may not have overall the best talent in this division on their roster, but like we were talking about the coaching thing, I feel like probably the head coach I have the most respect for as of right now is Ron Rivera in this division. So
I can't argue there.
I just feel like that can go a long way. And I believe that Tyler Heineke had this team pretty competitive in a lot of games last year.
Well, they did go to the playoffs 2 years ago.
And like you just said, Carson Wentz is a major upgrade from Tyler Heineke. Whether you like Carson Wentz or not, he's significantly better than Taylor Heineke. And that's just going to be a difference. Zion, yes, I did get absolutely roasted, by the way, bro. I did. I got, yes, everybody out there don't know, black folks, we do sunburn. We burn. We get burnt up too. Not quite as easy, but we get burnt up too. And I got the sunburn proof all over my upper body to prove it. So.
Well, we will save that for another day, folks, because this is a PG show. We don't need to be going to the X-rated. But let me ask you this: Carson Wentz does 35, 27, and 7. Do you think that's a successful season for the Washington Commanders?
They go, excuse me, what's the record you said?
I said if Carson Wentz does what he did with the Colts, are the Commanders a better team? He had 3,500 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 7 intercepts. That was in the AFC, right? If he does that in the NFC, they could be a better team.
Oh, absolutely. And the NFC East, I mean, this division is going to be, like I said, it's going to be crazy. Anyway, like I said, the fact that we got talking about the Giants that are like the complete question mark in this division, totally nobody really knows what they're going to get out of the New York Giants. And then, like I said, I think everybody's completely sleeping on Washington and the Eagles and Cowboys. Well, their rosters are looking really good on paper right now.
Well,
so,
Unpopular Sports or NYG22, however you want to be addressed, I think NYG is fine. He says, was Washington definitely got the best coach? I still question Wentz, though. And my question to you is, over who? He's only got to be better than what? Dak Prescott? I mean, we're not talking about like he has, Justin Herbert or Russell Wilson or Derek Carr or Patrick Mahomes in this division. Hell, he doesn't even have that in the conference. So for me, he doesn't have to put up the crazy numbers for that Washington team to be relevant. You know what I mean? They were 6-10 with a quarterback that was in and out of the lineup, and they really didn't have the offense that they needed. Now you give them the weapons that we take, barring health. Barring health, this could be a team that we see. Maybe we're underestimating this. Maybe it's Washington and Philadelphia fighting for the division as opposed to the Cowboys.
It's a possibility. Like I said, I think between the three teams, I think a lot of people were, obviously putting the Eagles at the top right now, and I say maybe deservedly so on paper, but you got to still always earn it on the field, and I think Washington might go out there and just absolutely do that and surprise everybody.
You two mofos need to invest in some sunscreen. I can always mail you some.
I did have sunscreen. What it was, the problem was I put some sunscreen on. I get in the pool. I be in the pool for hours, bro, and then I just forgot to put more on.
Didn't reapply. That's the problem.
Yeah, I didn't reapply, bro. So it was like, I got cooked. Definitely
Well,
got
listen,
cooked up in that.
listen.
In that
Mac and I had a
Mexican sun.
conversation on the side. Don't let him get it twisted. That sunburn was well worth the trip. Let me tell you. I'm not going to give you the
Absolutely.
inside info. I'm not going to give you the inside info, but let me tell you, it was worth the trip.
Yeah, what happens in Mexico stays in Mexico, you know. But yeah. So you got any more notes on Washington, man?
No, I'm pretty good with that. I think we've established enough of how they could be, how good they could be.
Yeah, I think that they're one of the teams coming into this season that has really been slept on the most. I think a lot, and honestly, I was sleeping on them in the beginning myself. I'm not even going to front. It's just over the last past month or so, and I started looking at what they've been doing, and realizing that this team right here, man, this team might got something brewing. So we're
Yeah,
gonna find out, man. We all, and that's the beauty of this that the NFL season is here,
right.
baby, and we're gonna get to
No
find out soon. I mean,
questions
because
are going to be answered in a matter of
absolutely,
months. We are literally almost a month out. We are 6 or 7 weeks out from the start of the regular season. Okay, let me count for you how many weekends you got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weekends left before 9/11 happens, or in this case, 9/8 happens, where the Bills and Rams kick off. Okay, so a month from 5 weeks from tomorrow, you're going to see your first football game, and that's right. Questions will be answered. Brackets will be busted. Fantasy teams will be destroyed.
well, real quick, unpopular opinion sports. I see what you're saying. I do get your point here 100%. But Carson Wentz, that season was a lot. I mean, it just showed that he's not very mentally tough. That's all that really proved to me. That last year, the Eagles, when they brought Jalen Hurts in, it showed that he mentally is not. He's not never going to be that guy that has that mental toughness to withstand adversity. But I feel like he
Well,
went out when he went to the Colts last year. He definitely had a pretty strong enough season, and I just think I don't think there's an issue with Carson Wentz overall talent. I think he needs to get out of his own head. I mean, this
well,
guy was literally almost
just
MVP of the league.
try to put a bow on this because I know we're trying to move to the other teams, but you're looking at Carson Wentz and saying he played bad against the NFC East. What? Okay, the last time he was there, but we forget that he dominated the league a few years ago, and he was playing for the Eagles. That Eagle team doesn't win the Super Bowl if he doesn't get them out to a 10-1 start. Okay, so we can't just poo-poo him and just say he's not good. I mean, look at the team look at the quarterbacks that are in this division. Need I name them for you? Dak
We don't need,
Prescott.
we don't got to go there. We
Exactly.
got to go
He doesn't
there.
even want to know because that's how bad they are. If I were to put a blind test on and give the names of the quarterbacks in this division to somebody who's not in the NFC East or doesn't know the reputation, but knows, I'm sure they've heard of Carson Wentz over the other guys across the league. The other guys, some of them are a laughing stock across the league. But we're going to get into that. We're going to move on to a new team.
Yeah, we're gonna segue down south to them boys with the stars on their helmet. America's team, the team that feels like they're gonna win the Super Bowl every damn
Why do you
year.
have to bring up America's team? God.
Ain't even been in the damn ain't even sniffed a Super Bowl since I was still in high school. Oh no, I was in
Damn.
college. My first year of college, actually. But still, either
Don't
way,
don't tell yourself short.
that was still a long ass time ago.
Damn.
Either way.
Damn. How old was I? If you were in college, I was throwing footballs in middle school or elementary. Damn. Now we're really aging ourselves right now. But that's how old the Cowboy fans are.
Yeah, I mean, so this team here, man, they got. Well, you had some breaking news that just happened with this team, though. What was
Yes.
that, Adam? About who they just
Breaking
acquired?
news. Breaking news. Anthony Barr, ex-Minnesota Vikings linebacker, has joined the Cowboys defense, which I think is actually a good addition to that team. I think he'll bring a little bit of pass rush ability, and some other run stuffing ability with that team. I mean, Anthony Barr was pretty good in Minnesota. You pair him with Dan Quinn, who, by the way, he might be the best defensive coordinator in the NFC East. Okay, like he I know he was going to be a head coach possibly with the Giants. That we have no idea what really went down in those meetings, if he was a true candidate or what. But his defense really played well last year. I know we don't want to give credit to the Diggs kid, and Micah Parsons played out of his mind. He's not going to play like that this year. But Dan Quinn, man, getting more pieces to an already decent defense only gets me a little angry, because that's what the Cowboys are going to have to rely on this season for the first few games. Their
Absolutely,
defense.
they will be. Absolutely, unless they can get that running game getting back to what it used to be, they're going to definitely be relying heavily on that defense to start the season off, because they're having some serious receiver issues, man. Injuries, can't keep guys healthy right now, man. James Washington just went down on at practice, yesterday at practice, and he's going to be out for quite some time. Doesn't appear to be he's going to be ready for the start of the season. Michael Gallup's already gone on the record saying he pretty much knows he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. A lot of pressure going to fall on CeeDee Lamb's shoulders, man. They have to step in and be that number one guy immediately from the door. No, without any of the actual veteran presence like a Michael Gallup or James Washington to help kind of ease him along that route. I mean, he was going to be number one guy anyway, but now he's got to really go be the number one guy without.
Well, I'm gonna say
help.
this. I think the pressure is more on Kellen Moore this year, because I know Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. We know CeeDee Lamb can play football. I mean, that's he got 1,000 yards last year, which is not really an accomplishment in 17 games, but nonetheless, we know that he can play. I think he's going to have a bigger year than most people think. That's just me from what I saw from him coming out and the way that they were drooling over him when they drafted him. I think he's, whether you like it or not, is a reason that they got rid of Amari Cooper. They saw that he could play. They're like, well, if we compare him with Michael Gallup and get another receiver in here, we might still have something going. But my question is do you think Kellen Moore will be able to step up this year, because he's under a lot of pressure? I know it's Mike McCarthy that's going to take the fall if this team doesn't make the playoffs or ends up not winning however many games, but Kellen Moore had an up and down year last year. Will he be able to bounce back this year with less talent?
It's going to be tough, man. I mean, he's still a young, very, very young coach to be coaching at the NFL in any kind of position. Coach, I mean, he's offensive coordinator, and he's already getting head coaching interest. And he's a young guy, man. This kid, he's still, he's probably only in about his mid-30s, and so it's going to be a lot of pressure on him to be able to get this thing going. But he's proven in the past that he has an ability to work this Cowboy offense out, man, and to use it to his strengths. Like I said, I think my personal opinion, a smart move, it will be try to rely heavily on that run game, get that if the offensive line can hold up, which we know is not quite the same anymore, but if they can hold up, try to rely heavily on the run game. A lot of people are down on Zeke Elliott this season. I'm not one of those people. I think Zeke Elliott probably does read the press clippings, and I think he's probably going to come out there with a big old giant chip on his shoulder and prove to everybody that he is still one of the absolute best running backs in this league. I was looking at my fantasy book. I couldn't believe where I saw Zeke Elliott ranked at in comparison to just where he was ranked just a year ago. So it's just like, I personally don't see. I believe in the talent of Ezekiel Elliott, and I think that they're going to have to rely heavily on him and him and Tony Pollard and get that running game going at least the first couple of weeks until they get some a little bit healthier in the receiver department. I mean, Dalton Schultz is also going to be there as a security blanket. He made big strides with his career a season ago, and he's now looked at as a top tight end in the league. So we'll see what Kellen Moore can do, if he is that guy, man, that's been getting all this head coaching interest these last couple of seasons. Let's see if he can get these Cowboys offense out and going, man, from the beginning, man, because he's going to have dealing with a lot of adversity, like we just mentioned. Danny. MVP season and Super Bowl run. Oh boy, that would be amazing if that happens. But I'm not I wouldn't bet on it, bro. Dallas waiting for Sean Payton to come out of retirement. McCarthy is done after this year, in my opinion. I agree. I think that's what Jerry Jones is waiting on, and I think that's what Sean Payton's waiting on. I don't think he wants to come back in and take any other job other than this Dallas Cowboy job. 100% agree with you on that. But this Dallas Cowboy team, man, this team gets, like you said, best in this country, America's most overhyped team. Everybody hypes this team up every year, and sure, on paper, they always appear to have a pretty solid roster. It looks good, but this team always finds a reason to fall flat on their face, man. So, as far as I'm concerned with the Dallas Cowboys, they got to go out and prove it too, man. If they're really about that life, man. I'm tired
Well,
of this team just getting hyped because they're the Dallas Cowboys every year.
well, I don't, as much as I think that they're getting hyped, I do think that a lot of teams, at least I saw a few people, kind of put them at the 9-8 range. I mean, we had them at 10-6. I think both of you. So NFL Network, I forget who the guy was, but he was going through their schedule and giving them win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, and he put them at 9-8. 9-8 gets them fired, possibly flirts with the playoffs, but that definitely would put Mike McCarthy on the hot seat. And like someone said, yes, I believe that Sean Payton's coming, but you can't play like Sean Payton's coming. I don't think Mike McCarthy is wanting to be like, yeah, well, I'm getting fired after this. I think he's going to come out there and play. Now, the Cowboys, to me, out of all the teams in the NFC East, have a tough road to hoe in the first two games. They have Tampa Bay and Cincinnati, and then they have the New York Giants. They could easily be 0-2 heading into that game against Week 3. I'm praying that they win one of those games because I do not want to play an ornery, desperate Cowboys team on Monday Night Football, where Giants don't do well on primetime games, let alone Monday Night Football. And I can just see it now in classic Giant fashion, Cowboy fashion, the Giants coming out laying an absolute dud, and the Cowboys righting themselves a little bit with that game. I hope they win a game against Cincinnati. Probably of the two games. Well, now that Tampa Bay is getting a few people knocked out of their team, the Cowboys may have a chance, but realistically, I think they have a better chance of beating Cincinnati than they do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I mean, I just really think the Cowboys are coming out the gate 0-2. I just feel like that's just what's going to happen. I think the Cincinnati Bengals, I think Tampa Bay Buccaneers are both just better football teams than the Dallas Cowboys, and I think they're going to. I just don't see them finishing, coming out nothing better than 0-2, coming to that Monday night game up in the MetLife against the New York Giants.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's just how I see it, bro.
Before we get into the Giants better be at least 1-1 because you don't want to take one. You don't want both teams to be 0-2, and you definitely don't want to be 0-2 and the Cowboys have a win because that could end it right there. The Giants, as well as many other teams, and we'll get into them later. If the Cowboys lose, they need to win 50, be 1-1 after this. I don't care if you lose to Tennessee and beat Carolina, but if you're 0-2, good night the lights.
That's true. I can see. I mean, that's not going to be a good look for a team like us because the Giants obviously aren't the kind of team that's built to dig themselves out of a hole. They got to kind of stay as even keel as possible throughout the season to even have any real chance. They can't dig themselves into a deep hole. And that's why those first couple of games will be critical for the Giants. I feel like the front end of their schedule is a lot lighter than the back end, and they got to take advantage of that the first half of that schedule, man. Because if they get in trouble in the first half, the second half is going to be a long rest of the season.
You're absolutely right. And the Cowboys are in a different scenario because they finished in the top. So they've got games sprinkled against the best teams across divisions. So while we play like the Ravens, who finished in second or third place, they're playing Pittsburgh, right? They're playing the top team in that division they're playing Cincinnati. So they're going to be playing the top teams across those divisions. So they've got to win. And this is what I keep telling people about games like this. What will happen? Because if the Cowboys go 0-3, let's say the Giants beat them, okay? And the Cowboys go 0-3, you might good night the lights to Mike McCarthy halfway through the year. Because at that point, but this division is bad enough where they can still be 0-3 and somehow miraculously scratch and claw their way back. It's not impossible, but I don't know, man. It's going to be I think it's going to be a tough year for the Cowboys. I really do.
Well, I hope you're right because it's always a good thing when the Cowboys have a rough season, man. I love that.
They got to beat everybody in the division there on Popular Sports.
Well, where are you hiding? Welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you stopped back through, man. Please make sure you subbed up to myself and Adam Costas really would appreciate it. But well, yeah, we do got. But I think what he's saying, his point is that we've had a history of beating Washington. I think he's just meaning we continuously keep losing to the Cowboys and the Eagles over and over and
Yes.
over again.
Yes.
I think
Well,
that's
I
pretty
don't want
much
this, but I don't want this trend to be we beat the Cowboys or split with the Cowboys and lose to everybody else. Because last year we split with the Eagles and lost to everybody else, right? At the other game. So the Giants just need, and we'll get into them a little bit. Just worry about winning the first game of the year and not worrying about anything else.
Well, absolutely. Right now, all focus needs to be on the Tennessee Titans for right now. Everything we're doing right now is to get ready for the Tennessee Titans. But you got any more thoughts on these Dallas Cowboys?
Outside of that, they're not going to the Super Bowl. No.
No Super Bowl for the Cowboys? You mean you're not
No.
one of those people that think the Cowboys are going to Super Bowl every year?
Get out of here.
But so you know what that means. We done
Thanks,
talking
Randy.
about these cats with these stars on their helmet. We're gonna come back up here and talk about this other team that I hate almost equally as much.
Ugh. I think it's worse. for me.
Well, yeah, because I live too close to to their fans, so
It's worse when you like live in their backyard because then you have to see them every day. It's one thing because Cowboy fans are like sparse all over the place, right? You'll be a random dude that you'll look down the street like, oh, you're a Cowboy fan? Never knew, right? Everyone else around here wears the eagle green. Like I can't stand it. Like the people are looking at me, they're giving me like these side eyes. Like you're a Giant fan? Oh, I feel sorry for you. I'm like, ugh. You have to wear green every year? Ugh, like gross, you know?
Yeah, we seen that earlier. That Anthony Barr is getting signed to the Cowboys, Cade, and I'm pretty sure that makes you feel all right. And where you're hiding, that's actually the second game. The first game is against the Tennessee Titans. Carolina is week 2 where you're hiding.
Don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on Carolina. I'm telling you right now.
Also, like we just talked about earlier about Washington, they've upgraded the quarterback position. Whether you like Baker Mayfield or not, he is an upgrade at that position, and they already have a couple other nice weapons, so that can make all the difference in the world there in Carolina. What's going on, MR? Yeah, we're not really here to talk about Deshaun Watson today, but good luck to that brother because I feel like he's already been through
Yeah, I mean,
enough
that's
now
just
with
going to get
all
ugly.
this.
And I don't really want to talk about Deshaun Watson. He's been talked about for a year and a half right now. I'm just over it.
People say Dallas fires McCarthy mid-season and Kellen Moore takes over and does well. Do they give Moore the job or go after Peyton?
They go. What
that.
Peyton might even keep Kellen Moore. To be honest with you, if that happens, Peyton comes in. He's a big name. He can then groom Kellen Moore to either be his successor or take his game somewhere else. I think if I'm Kellen Moore, I'd want to stay with the Cowboys one more season and work under Peyton, the mastermind that he is. So I think you still go after Peyton. If Kellen Moore decides he wants to leave or he gets fired, okay, that's something that Peyton will cross. But let's be honest, if the Cowboys have a decent offensive season, he might be kept around. I also think Dan Quinn would want to stay as well. I think the only person you might be replacing there is McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, Kellen Moore, like I spoke about earlier, man, he's proven to be a pretty good coach, obviously, offensive coordinator, but he is a very young person, man. He's a young guy, man. There's literally guys in this league playing that are older than Kellen Moore, man. So it's tough. To me, even though he's a good offensive coordinator, I think he still needs a little bit more years of maturity before he really step up and take that head coaching leap at the NFL level, man. So,
right. That's why I think working with Sean Payton would be great for him. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing for somebody like him. That would be probably that last step he needs before he's ready to take over as the head coach. What's going on, Jeff? But makes sense. All right, so these Philadelphia Eagles, man. Okay, this is the team right now that on paper seems to have the edge in the NFC East right now on paper. We all know the game ain't played on paper, but this team do. This team do. They do. They are looking pretty good, and is getting some good things. Hearing a lot of good things coming out of training camp. They are apparently starting to find the connection with Hurts the Brown, and obviously we already know that him Hurts and the other damn receiver who I wanted on the Giants so bad, can't remember his name now.
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith, yeah. Him and Devontae Smith already have quite a good connection. So hearing a lot of good things out of Eagles camp, man, especially on the defensive side of the football. They've made some key additions. Obviously, we already know about the James Bradbury one, but even their rookies they drafted, man, the Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis, hearing just great things coming out of Eagle camp about all of these young men, man, and this defense looking primed to be a potential top defense in the league.
Yeah, I agree with you. From what I'm hearing, Jalen Hurts, is having some up and down days, but he's looking better than last year, which is promising, right? He's completing his passes. He's making sure that he's getting with AJ Brown. He also, is going to have to mature a little bit. Remember, we were talking about this earlier today about how he's only 23 years old, right? He's on. If you were to look at a quarterback's progress from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, he's on that trajectory track of improving, right? His first year, he played the back end of the season, right? The last couple of games of the year, he learned under Doug Peterson, right? The next year he comes in, which is this past year, and Nick Sirianni kind of figures out that he's not ready to pass the ball all over the yard yet. Let's run the football and kind of get him developed this season. Now this season, he's coming in. They're giving him a little bit more of the offense. He has, like you said, they have Devontae Smith. They have AJ Brown. They definitely have Dallas Goedert. They have a running back by committee, a stable that is pretty good from Boston Scott to
that are
Kenneth
all good receivers out of the backfield, by the way.
Right. Kenneth Gainwell. You have the Miles Sanders guy who can really be the 1-2 punch if you really want, right? They can do so many things depending on the players or the teams that they play. So I really like their versatility on offense. I can't believe I just said it like something for the Eagles. Oh, gross. But it's hard. It's hard to say, but their offensive line is one of the better ones, not only in the league, but probably in the Eastern Division. Right, the Cowboys have dropped off. The Commanders
had the best offensive line in the division.
Yes, I agree, and they're pretty good. And to me, I think they're going to be similar to what the Titans do, and that's going to be they're going to try to bludgeon you with their run game, and then have their quarterback make the necessary throws when needed, not put the whole game on his back. And when you do that, you can really develop the rapport that you need with the team. Now, let's flip it to the other side of the ball. Jordan Davis apparently is being a beast out there. And now you put Jordan Davis out there, right? And the Kobe Dean is saying, needs to get a little better. But as he develops, you have Nakobe Dean doing well, those things, not to mention Fletcher Cox, Vern Hargraves, Brandon Graham, and the other pick, Barnett, excuse me. It makes for a better defensive team, and it makes for a team that's been pesky all over the place. In terms of how they do things, right? They're very pesky in that regard. With how they always play. So it's not like they're bad, but to me, with James Bradbury, who by the way changed the whole dynamic of that team. Absolutely dynamic changer. And he's
got two Pro Bowl cornerbacks. You got two Pro Bowl caliber cornerbacks.
Right.
On the back end
who've
of the
both
defense.
seen a lot of football, let's be honest. Who've both seen a lot of different things that these young quarterbacks are going to throw at them, right? Such as the Daniel Joneses, the Carson Wentzes. Like the thing is, like for me, is like when the Eagles play the Commanders, advantage Commanders because they have a quarterback who's seen it all, right? If you say the Eagles against the Cowboys, well, I think that's going to be a good matchup because their defense is going up against the strength of the Cowboys, which is supposedly their offensive line. So for me, I'm like, I want to give respect out there. As much as I hate talking about the Eagles like this, I just believe their team is being built very well. I think overall they're building a depth defense, not just a defense that can beat you, but Jordan Davis doesn't have to start this year, especially if they have Fletcher Cox. He can come in, be a run stuffer, be a pocket mover, be a guy who kind of keeps the linebackers clean. He doesn't have to be a starter. And if that's the beauty of what
they're building. Like the fact that okay, we're gonna give Fletcher Cox a blow here. Here you go. We're gonna throw Jordan Davis at you. Like what the hell? Like that's
Right.
they're
Right.
doing a lot right now. They're doing a lot. The Eagles, and just to address this comment by unpopular sports opinion, I agree 100%. Like even though Jalen Hurts might be looking a little better, it's still practice, and it's the same thing that what you were saying about Daniel Jones earlier to me, Adam. I got to still see it on the field because
Right.
in live reps, live rounds, when the defense is actually coming at you to hit you and try to take you
Right.
down. I
Try to
got to
take the
see him
ball away, try to disrupt
still,
you, you know.
still be poised in that pocket and delivering strikes. I mean,
But because
I
let
believe
me
in this
break it
kid's
down.
athletic ability. Go ahead.
Practice is practice for a reason. You can't, you can't totally, discredit it, but you also totally can't just buy into it like that's the end all be all. Because in practice, you're controlling things, right? The guys aren't hitting as much. They're not sacking the quarterback. They're not doing the things that normally a defense would be doing, a la taking your head off. Okay? Because that defensive end is getting paid to disrupt the play. He is being coached to knock out the quarterback, to take the guy out, to turn the ball over, to stop them from scoring. On defense in practice, the play is still going on, even if it technically was a called sack, right? So technically, if you're getting sacked on the play or would be sacked on the play or would be intercepted or whatever, the play is still continuing on. That's not happening in a game. In a game, the play is ending. Whether or not you're on the right side of that play, that'll be yet to be determined.
Absolutely agree, man. So like I said, until I see him in live rounds on the field, man, and then I believe that he's coming along as a passer when I actually see him coming along as a passer in real game situations when people
And
are
don't
actually trying to hit him.
and don't take the playoff experience lightly. Okay, people, like, I know people are like trying to poo-poo the Tennessee Titans and saying the Giants have all this and they're going to be able to beat them because of this. Experience matters. Okay, it really does. And teams like the Titans and the teams like the Eagles who had to scratch and claw in every game to get to the playoffs, that's going to matter when the tight games roll out. Those are the situations you will find out if Jalen Hurts can rise to the occasion, or if he's like a blowout quarterback. And what I mean by a blowout quarterback is your defense is dominating. You're just there to kind of throw some touchdown passes. It's when you get into the nitty gritty of these close games, who are you going to trust? A team that's never been there, that doesn't know how to overcome these things yet, or a team that's been there that happens to do it, even though their quarterback may. And remember, if your defense is your strong point, you don't need to make the game hard for Jalen Hurts. You can just let it come to him. Okay, Jalen, our defense is playing lights out. Just make the necessary throws, make the correct reads, get us into third and manageable, and we can work that out.
And I agree 100% with what you just said. I think you gotta find that good balance. You just can't be trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You got to find that good balance with this offense. And another thing, this is the season, as a matter of fact, for bounce back season for NFC East running backs. Because I believe Miles Sanders, you can put him on the list too with Zeke, Saquon Barkley. I feel like he's as long as if this guy can stay healthy, he's gonna bounce back, and his talent is gonna prove what he's capable of, man. And that'll be also clutch for this Philadelphia Eagle football team, man, because this guy's only issue has been his availability. He's always injured, but when he's on the field, he's explosive. He's a playmaker, and this Philadelphia Eagle team, man, it can be very, very dangerous, man. I could see it going down where the Eagles even could potentially run away with this division, honestly. That's how good I think this team could be. And it's hard for me to say things like that
Wow.
because I really, really hate this football team. But
Wow.
truth is what the truth is, man. And this team,
Wow.
I think, has the talent. Has the talent and has constructed a roster in which they could possibly run away with this division. It is what it
That's
is.
a bold statement. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. I think they're going to be in the division race. I think they're going to win it, to be honest with you. But to run away, that's big. I mean, they are talented, and thankfully they play in the NFC East. If they're in another division, we may not be talking about them the way that they are. But because
Yeah.
they are in the NFC East and they have their defenses pretty good, this is what I keep telling people. You talk about game managing quarterbacks, right? We want the Eagle fans want Jalen Hurts to be better than the game manager. But if he has to game manage, I trust that with their defense over the other three teams in this league.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I just think I don't know. I like Jalen Hurts is an explosive playmaker. Like I said, if this
Right.
kid could pass the ball with more consistency, he could be literally one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Honestly,
Let me ask you a question. We talked about his stat line. What do you think would be a good stat line for Jalen Hurts in terms of yardage and total touchdowns, including rushing touchdowns? Because AK and I and a few other guys this morning said something about 30 touchdowns. If he has 23 touchdowns and like 7 rushing TDs, he's contributed 30 touchdowns. That's a pretty good season for him, right? And you get him about 3,500 yards. That's
3,500 yards overall, or 3,500 yards just passing.
Well, if you're talking about overall, then I would hopefully be about 4,000 yards overall in terms of rushing and passing.
Because I think he's actually for the way he runs. I mean, he's gonna probably be at least sniffing in that 1,000-yard rushing range. Honestly, with the way he runs. So, and then as long as he can pass, I'd say for at least a good solid 3,000 yards. At least he can give him at least that much in the air, man. I think that'll put the Eagles over the top. With 30 touchdowns too, that would definitely put the Eagles over the top. I don't see anything messing with the Eagles if Jalen Hurts.
Well, I think his rushing touchdowns might be a big factor as well. So I could see him throwing 20 touchdowns and getting like 6 or 7 rushing touchdowns, right? And kind of being that Dak Prescott light. You know, I know people don't want to talk about that. That's how Dak Prescott worked. We talked about Ezekiel Elliott being the engine that makes that Cowboy offense go. And let's be honest, against Tampa Bay, against Cincinnati, they're really going to have to rely on Ezekiel Elliott. I think the Eagles are going to do the same thing. Their running game was a strength last year. They're going to try to rely on that to kind of get the engine moving and then let Jalen Hurts, you know, kind of naturally be a runner, right? Don't run some – I hate RPOs. I think it's the worst invention in football because you're going to get your quarterback hurt more than you think because they're, like I said this afternoon, if somebody like Blake Martinez decides that he wants to put his helmet right in the chest of your quarterback because you're running an RPO, well, guess what? If he does that run fake and he executes the run fake and does a pitch or something along those lines, guess what? Once he becomes a runner and out of that pocket, he's fair game. And this is where guys will take cheap shots at your quarterback. So I would not want to see RPO. Design runs are a little different. You know, you can kind of control that. You can have them slide. RPOs, the rule of thumb on defense is if they're running a fake and you think they have the ball, you lay that guy out. And that's what you do. So if he's running a fake, boom. You want to hit him? Boom.
I mean, I definitely agree with this comment here by AK, man. He's got to do more than we did last year. Even though last year he was still had a pretty productive, solid season, you got to step it up another notch now. You got to take it up to the next level. And we obviously know what you can do with your legs. We got to see you do it with your arm now, bro.
You're right, right? Last year he had 3,100 yards passing, so we're giving him 3,500. Last year he had 16 touchdowns. I said he could get at least 23, you know, especially with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. If you're not sniffing the 20s with those two guys on your team, then you're not quarterback. You're not the quarterback for the Eagles. You're just not a quarterback in the league, period. You're not a good quarterback 100%. In the league with those two talented guys. So
I agree 100% with that, man. He's gonna. I mean, like I said, it's coming off a season that he had last year, which was a pretty successful season. He ended up in the Pro Bowl. You know, it's tough to say a guy needs to do more, but he does still need. But he does. Like you said, the eye test. He has to do more to truly be that guy.
Well,
it just is what it is.
Let's break it down. Let's call a spade. Last year was really his rookie season. Okay, yes. It was the game that he started the most games. He got the most experience from in the NFL, right? And like I said before, he's at the point where you want a young quarterback to be. You know that he can play in the league. You know he can make some throws. How can we make him better than what he was last year, right? That's where Nick Sirianni comes in and the offense comes in. How can we build on that? Now, if he stays the same, then you have 2 draft picks this year to move up and get the guy that you really want in this year's draft, right? So, like last year, let's look at the stats. 2020, he started 4 games. He threw for 1,000 yards, had 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and then he also ran for 354 yards and had 3 touchdowns, right? This past season, he had 3,100 yards passing, 16 touchdowns. He ran for almost 800 yards, 784 yards. He had 10 touchdowns last year. So overall, he had 26 touchdowns and over 3,900 yards in total last year. That's a pretty good season. Now, if you can up those touchdown totals from maybe 16 to maybe 22 and keep the touchdowns within 10 or more, now you're talking about 23. Now you're talking about, let's say we give him 23 touchdowns passing. Now you're talking about 33 touchdowns overall and 300 or 400 more yards passing and maybe close, like you said, 700 yards rushing. That is an improved season. That's probably getting you 10 or 11 wins, and that's probably giving you the division.
Well, how about this comment right here by AK, man? He's obviously going to defend his quarterback a bit. I understand that. I mean, Daniel Jones he's beyond being defended anymore. But he had Jalen Hurts had 16 passing touchdowns a year ago, and 10 pass touchdowns called back. So in all honesty, he should have had 26. Okay. One thing about that is all quarterbacks get touchdowns called back. 10 is a big number. I will admit 10 is a big number. I didn't realize he had 10 passing touchdowns called back. And then however many more maybe even dropped. Who knows if you even add those numbers. But all quarterbacks deal with that and go through that kind of thing, man. So honestly,
right,
you just got to make the plays, man.
I guess what AK is saying is that if you cut those penalties in half or you take some of those away, maybe his numbers look better. And I get it. Let's cut those in half. You give him 5 touchdowns. We're still talking about 21, and we're talking about 31 overall touchdowns. That's a better number than last year.
Absolutely.
So if we cut those numbers in half, he would have more yardage. I'm assuming some of those touchdowns, being that they were called back, were probably long distance touchdowns, right? And let's not forget about the Jalen Hurts touchdown that's dropped. So he maybe has 27 touchdowns in the long run. What I'm saying is for Eagle fans, and maybe we can, we'll probably move on to the other team who has quarterback issues in a minute, is that you saw some promising things from Jalen Hurts. Let's see if he can grow and get past that 16 touchdown range. I think every quarterback in the NFL these days should throw from no less than 3,500 yards and no less than 25 touchdowns, especially in a game where they're not holding the receivers the same way they were back in the day. They're not doing certain things the same way they were 10 or 15 years ago. You bare minimum, that's what I need from my guys.
I mean, I feel you, bro. I mean, like I said, 10's a lot. I mean, 10 touchdowns called back for penalties or whatever reasons, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like I said, and that's only counting ones that's called back from penalties, not even counting ones that were, like I said, dropped. So I'm sure there was plenty of those too.
Right, and I mean we can go tit for tat with it.
Mr. Jalen Rager.
Right, it is what it is with those penalties. There's nothing you can say or do about it right now. All you can say is that I'm giving you half of those penalties, AK, right? If you turn half of those penalties, you said 10 of them, let's say 5 of them aren't called back, right? Now his yardage goes up, his touchdowns go up, and now we're talking about 21 touchdowns with 10 rushing touchdowns. That's a better and a reasonable number. Maybe we're also talking about 3,500 yards. So the potential is there. Let's see if he can, like I said, build on these things. Nick Sirianni seems to have the pulse of his team, so we'll see what they can do.
Absolutely. And if you got any more final thoughts on this Philadelphia Eagle team for this week?
Outside of that, they can kiss my butt. I really don't.
So we're going to move on, man, to what I like to call the main event of the Real Deal NFC East Round-up.
Let's talk about reason you make all pay for the pay-per-view right here.
The New York Football Giants.
Oh boy.
And I know they ain't been nobody's main event the last about 10 years or so. but they're always gonna be my main event. God damn it, New York Football Giants. Let's go, baby.
Yes. They will always be my main event. The main thing that I know geography and calendar dates because of where the Giants play on Sundays. Okay. So that's how, when I grew up, that's how I learned the states, like, oh, Tennessee, oh, they have the Titans over there. Woo. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're going down to Atlanta. That's in Georgia. Woo. You know what I mean? Like, and now you're telling me, oh, wait, we have a birthday party, Halloween. We have like a party. My wife throws out the date. I look at the date. I'm like, oh, that's a Saturday. Giants are playing, this team on the 30th, and Monday's Halloween. I'm like, that's how I live. So they're always going to be my main event. Let's hope this year we have something to cheer about. And we're not snoozing.
Please let this team give us something to cheer about this year. And speaking of something to cheer about, what do you want to talk about first with this team, Adam? I'll let you decide.
Let's
what
not
direction you want
bury
to go
the
first.
lead. Let's not bury the lead. Okay, here we go. Hey, everyone's ready. Everyone's favorite stepchild, Daniel.
Number 8.
Number 8. The accountant himself, as I like to call him. First couple days of practice was looking like caca. Then he comes
Very
out
bad.
and is throwing the ball all over the yard. And now I've got people texting me, you're wrong. Look what he's doing. This, that, and the other thing. 6 for 6, 14 of 15 for 300 yards, and blah, blah, blah. Let's pump the brakes, people.
Why are we keeping stats at practice?
Because we have nothing to do. We have to keep stats in practice. It just that's what it is. He's looking crisp. He's looking sharp. Okay, that was said
What's up, Miz?
last year as well. And guess what happened when he played Tampa Bay? He was looking crisp and sharp, throwing that ball to the defender on a screenplay. Let's not forget. I want to give him credit. And there, of course, Miz chimes in when we're talking about the New York Giants and his favorite quarterback, right? His favorite quarterback of all time. Don't get it twisted. Miz will tell you that Daniel Jones will be here 1 year, and then out the other side of his mouth, he'll be like, I told you he's going to be good. You know what I mean? See what I'm saying? Jones looking fire, don't hate. But yet Miz will call me today. I'm like, Adam, I understand. It's his last year. I really don't believe in the guy. But, it is what it is. But, of course, he's going to be here when we're having this. Now, what I want to say is this. I want to give Jones credit. Look good, Jones. Good job. That's what we expect as Giant fans. This should not. We should not be like, hey, Jones is looking good. Hooray! We should already have had that coming out the gate. We should have been like, all right, let's get our NFC East title. But I can't trust Daniel Jones because he looks good now in practice when they're not hitting him and he can stand there and throw the ball. I did give credit where credit is due, but it's practice nonetheless. When he wins games, that's when I'll give him credit.
Like you said, it's practice. And here's the reality about Daniel Jones and his skill set. We all know that if he's sitting there and nobody around him, he can deliver the damn football. We know he can do that. He's proven he can do that. The problem is he has to show me in games with, like I said earlier about Jalen Hurts, live rounds. When they're really coming to hit you, coming to take your ass down, you don't have a red jersey on that says we can't touch this guy. I got to see what he can do in those situations, man, because we know that the guy can throw the football. I mean, let's face it.
I get it.
He's made some decent passes. He's made some decent passes in his 4-year career. We know that he has some degree of arm talent when he has a nice, clean pocket. The problem is it's the NFL. You're not going to always have a nice, clean pocket. You gotta be able to, overcome the adversity, overcome the obstacles, man. And he's got to show me he can do that.
A few other things I want to mention with practice. First off, I understand you're rooting for the Giants. Great. We're not saying to Daniel Jones we want to see him fail. I think that's what you're misinterpreting here. What we're saying here is we want the dude to step the hell up. Okay? It is. He's right. Do it in the game. We talk about practice. Yeah, I said the same thing. We talk about practice. I look good in practice. You know what happened in the game, though? When my team would play, those scrubs that would hit me all game long to look good for the coaches didn't show up come game day. We ended up going 0-10. But yet they look good in practice when they can wrap up on a weaker guy or take advantage of a cornerback who slips on the dirt. I expect Daniel Jones to hit a pass when Adoree Jackson slips and the guy runs down the field.
Now, one thing I will say in Daniel Jones' defense about this training camp so far is, like Adam said earlier, it started off really, really poor. He had some, serious issues. He was having some serious issues, and these last couple of days, they put the pads on, and things have been trending in a different direction as far as him seeming to grasp the offense a little bit better, looking a little bit better in practice. But at the end of the day, it is still we just
Well,
got to keep in perspective that
honestly,
it is just practice, man.
honestly, I want to say this, and I know people don't think that this is the case, but Tyrod Taylor, okay, I do believe he's having an effect on Daniel Jones because Tyrod is having a good practice and a good camp himself. And I think Jones is starting to realize, like, yo, if I don't play well, my ass is going to be on the bench because I'll tell you one thing. Brian Dable came on the other day and said he doesn't want interceptions from Daniel Jones. So, mind you, Daniel Jones went 14 of 16 the other day and whatever. He did throw two interceptions. One would have been a pick six, right? So, let me ask you this. If that pick six comes back to haunt us and we lose a game, does it really matter now that he throws for 300 yards because the pick six is ugly? Now, we can debate all we want about who ran the wrong route and this, that, and the other thing. All I'm saying is that those interceptions need to stop. The staring down of receivers, he's still doing that. Yes, he is throwing the ball downfield. And not to mention, go back and watch some of those highlight films that he's watching. Some of those defensive linemen like Leo Williams and Kayvon Thibodeau are getting into the backfield and beating some of these linemen. So I get it. He's doing well. I'm giving him credit for hitting practice and doing what he needs to do. But I need to see it in the game. And not for nothing, I'm watching Tyrod Taylor move around in the pocket. I'm not seeing Daniel Jones do a lot of that in practice. I'm seeing him drop back and sling it, and that's great. But I'm seeing, Tyrod Taylor dropping it down to a check down, moving around as if the real guy is going to sack him. And he's doing, like, don't get it twisted. Tyrod's having a great camp. And to be honest with you, he could be one of the 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL this year. And I will say this, I listened to his interview today. Don't think for 1 second that Tyrod Taylor is coming here just to be a backup quarterback. That is not what he said. He didn't say Taylor wants to be a backup. He said he's coming in here to compete. And I don't blame him for saying that. Because guess what?
Agree.
He's saying I'm preparing as the starter, which means he's coming in, looking at it. And AK said it best to me today. He didn't come here to the Giants to be like, oh, yeah, I want to be a backup quarterback on this team. He came because they obviously showed him and told him you would have an opportunity to play some games here. Come here and play with us. Now, you're going to be Daniel's backup, but we also know that you are a competitive man. So you're not necessarily not the starter, but you're also not necessarily the backup either. And if I'm Tyrod Taylor, I'm looking at the landscape of the NFL right now and teams where I could possibly be a starter at, why am I coming to New York to just get backup? When I know that I could have started for the Browns, barring an injury. I could have started for LA, barring someone puncturing me in the lungs, right? A weird thing. And then for the Texans, again, they had a young quarterback that they saw was the future, but he did play some games for the Texans and looked good. Right. So you got to go down the list. Tyrod Taylor is probably better than some of these younger guys that are there or that could have been better. Maybe he plays in the 49ers and helps Trey Lance along. I don't know. I don't know what his agent cooked up. But if you're sitting there as Tyrod Taylor and you have the teams in front of you that are in the market for a backup quarterback, i.e. spot starter, the Giants are appealing to me. Because of Daniel Jones being injured, him not getting the fifth-year option, which means there's no certainty he's going to be here long-term, that's my ticket to get back to being a starter.
Well, okay, because I just want to touch on this while we're still on it. Because you made the point about Tyrod Taylor actually being good for Daniel Jones and NYG 22 unpopular opinion sports. I'm sorry. It's reiterating it's pretty much reiterating the point as well. And that's one thing where I feel like what making me feel comfortable about Joe Shane and this new regime is because I feel like that's another area where Dave Gettleman and that whole regime where they failed Daniel Jones in a sense too. Because other than his rookie season, and I'm gonna give a shout out to my man Authentic on Twitter earlier, what he said, or he had put out a tweet earlier talking about the effect that in Daniel Jones' rookie season, which statistically was his best year, Eli Manning was also in that locker room with him. Eli Manning was also in those meeting rooms with him. He had that influence on the
Exactly.
roster
He had to
with
look
him.
over his shoulder.
And then these last couple of years, man, you bringing in guys like Mike Glennon
And Colt McCoy.
and Colt McCoy. That's no those guys aren't a threat to Daniel Jones' job. They're in no way a threat to Daniel Jones' job. It's to him. It was just He went out. He went into training camp. It's my job. I know these guys ain't taking a job from me, and it
Right.
is what it is. Now you got a guy like Tyrod Taylor, like he said, who's going to come in and he's going to push you every day, and
And
he's
he's
going to
looking
make
good.
you.
It's not like he's
He's going
bad.
to make you have to earn this job. You're going to have to
Right.
earn this spot this year.
Right.
And
And he came
I
in.
get it. Come to preseason, I'm sure we're going to get Daniel Jones seeing most of the first team reps and all that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
But Tyrod Taylor is a veteran. He's got enough tape out. You still know what he's capable of. And if he still looks good in the preseason, whether he's going against mostly the second teamers or not, it's going to be a decision to be made there. And
Look,
that's just the reality. If Daniel Jones
look.
goes out there and lays an egg, it's going to in the preseason. There's going to be a decision to be made come
He
week
better
one.
not. He better not lay an egg in the preseason, because I'm telling you this right now. Tyrod Taylor is doing it with the second team. He's looking good with the second team. Okay, he's making Darius Slayton have a job. We're not talking about Darius Slayton possibly making the roster now because Tyrod's putting dimes all over the place with him, right? And I think, to Authentic's point, let's look at that rookie season for a minute. Daniel Jones gets injured and hurts his ankle or whatever, right? Eli Manning comes in, has a good game against the Eagles, they lose, has a game against Miami where they win, right? And all of a sudden, Daniel Jones is magically healed a couple weeks later, right? Then against Colt McCoy, they didn't really use him, but he was clearly you knew that Daniel Jones was better than Colt McCoy. So them traipsing him out against Arizona was them trying to save the playoff face, right? We need somebody good. If they had Tyrod Taylor, guess what? They're probably winning that game against Arizona, and it's a wholly different ballgame. That's what a guy like Tyrod Taylor does. The reason people think that he's this backup quarterback is because everyone wanted Mitchell Trubisky, who then you would have really had a quarterback controversy in that regard. Here, when you bring in Tyrod Taylor, you can framework it or wrap it in a bow where it's like Tyrod's really here to be the backup, but really he's not. Really, he's here to compete. But Tyrod Taylor, who's been injured, we can sell to the fan base as a backup player, right? And so for me, that's where it is. You can't not think that his expertise in the room, his offense, him looking good at practice, hasn't said to Jones, man, and look at Jones, right? He still has a couple of issues, but he's looking better. You got to think the guy behind him is burning his ass. And I'm sure Dable is probably also telling him, like, you got to play better, man. I know I said no interceptions, which I want to talk to this about Dable. Dable says no interceptions, yet Daniel throws interceptions and he goes to the media and says, I don't like the interceptions. You can't have it both ways, Brian. You can't say, I don't care about the interceptions, and then when he throws interceptions, say, I care about interceptions.
I do agree with that. That's a way to confuse your young quarterback right there, because now he's going out there with more of a gunslinger mentality, and then you're still going to be pissed if he throws the interception. So
Right.
you gotta figure it out. And as far as this AK, man, I honestly I don't think so, man. I think you still would have to hold on to Jones for this season, man, because at this situation right now, currently, they are the two best quarterbacks on our roster. So on this
Right.
roster, unfortunately, so you can't. You got to have somebody, and they're both injury prone. So
Right.
so you got to have one. They probably going to have to keep both of them around, no matter
Well,
which one is the starter.
let's throw this scenario around, but I want to address AK's point first. I think DJ will have to have a disastrous preseason, an absolute, throwing interceptions and look completely terrible, because we all wanted to see the backup quarterback last year and Mike Glennon, because they were like, oh, we believe in Mike Glennon. But here's how that they believe a little bit more that Tyrod's a starter. The money that they paid him, okay? Next year he makes $5 million. You're not going to pay both him and Jones in that department.
Well, here's what I'm thinking with the contract they gave Tyrod Taylor. Unless Jones goes out there and absolutely goes bananas this season, he's up out of here. Tyrod Taylor will pretty much be here to be the start the season off for whatever young quarterback we may bring in here via the draft or whatever. and we'll have Tyrod Taylor in place to at least get the season started if the young quarterback that we acquire isn't quite ready. I
Let's,
believe
let's,
that's
let's
the
address
reason for
part of this
Tyrod
question.
Taylor's contract.
How about this? Okay, Daniel Jones and the Giants are 500 ball club. Daniel Jones is having a decent year. They call up a team calls up that loses their quarterback, right? Do we trade Daniel Jones, get a draft pick for him, and let Tyrod ride the year out, right, and acquire assets for him, or do we say, nah, Daniel, we're gonna try to get to the playoffs right now? Do they do something like what they did with Kurt Warner and pull the reins out and get an asset? Because for me, I don't have anything invested in Daniel Jones. So if he's going to net me, maybe a second round pick or a third round pick, I might say, you know what? I'm sorry, let's do that. I need the assets to possibly move up and get my quarterback anyways, and we're rebuilding. This is not a year where I care about winning, so to speak. I might have to do that.
I mean, I could see that. I could see going that route too as well. I mean, you look at Eli's rookie season, what they did with Kurt Warner. We had a winning record with Kurt Warner, and they still sat him. They still sat Kurt Warner down to get Eli those reps, man, to get him reps as a rookie, man, and get him ready to be the New York Giant quarterback going forward. So I think right now anything is on the table right now for this New York Giant football team. But you know what? We spent enough time this offseason
Thank
talking
you.
about number
Thank
eight.
you. Let's move on.
More than enough time talking about number 8, man. So
Go prove it on 9/11. That's all I have to say.
how do you feel about some of these other playmakers on offense, man? That have so a lot of them been having pretty solid camps, man. Kadarius Toney is one name that comes to mind.
Let's talk to him. Let's talk about him because I know a lot of people were salty about his rap career, starting up. But this guy gives the Giants the most dynamic playmaker they've had since Odell Beckham Jr. in the receiving game. Look what he's doing.
Absolutely.
I know people show that 80-yard pass that was connected by Jones and Kadarius. He's not just a gadget player. He can run the route tree. May not be a great route tree that he can run, because I heard that he did round a route off with in terms of why a pick happened. But let me address that too. Maybe he rounded the route off because Brian Dable allows his receivers to get open however they want. So if there's no crispness to the route and he can do however he wants, maybe Kadarius Toney was feeling, I can beat this guy with my speed, rounding it off, and it ends up being a pick. These are the type of things you're going to see with the route. But Kadarius Toney, I'm hoping he stays healthy because he's going to be Odell Beckham light, I believe. He's going to be getting those deep passes, those deep posts, really being a lightning rod out there.
I mean, just get the ball in his hands in space, man. He has the ability to just make people look foolish out there.
Right.
Like the human joystick back in the day. What was that guy's name on
Dante Hall.
Kansas City? Yeah, like he has that kind of ability with the ball in his hand. Make people
But he's a better talent, I think.
Well, I mean, as far as a wide receiver, he did most of his damage in the return game, Dante.
Right.
I'm talking, but I'm just mean in open space with the ball in his hand, the things he's capable of doing. That's what I mean. I'm not gonna even remotely comparing them as receivers. I know that he's a far better receiver than Deontay Hall was.
Well, I like what they're going to do with Toney. I think he does a lot for this offense. Kenny Golladay is the guy that kind of intrigues me because I like what he does with his offense, but the philosophy that Brian Dable runs, will he be a part of the long-term plans? Because I can easily see him being traded down the road this season to get that contract, but partially off the books, but B, because Toney and Robinson are going to take over the league. I think, honestly, Toney is a little different player than Waddle. Waddle's a lot more straight line speed, more of a deep ball threat. While Kadarius Toney is more of I hate to use this term, Tyreek Hill type of player, where he's going to, take bubble screens, go deep, do all the route tree, but also do those like end arounds. And Jalen Waddle does some of that stuff, but to me, he's a burner. And that's what he did in Alabama. They lined him up on the side, said, hey, go run a fly route. We're throwing you the ball. Right?
Bomb.
Right. And I think I'm not saying Waddle doesn't take bubble screens, but to me, if you watch Waddle's highlights and you watch Toney's highlights in college, Toney's doing the gadget plays, Waddle's running the deep posts, getting hit over the middle and separating the defense. You know what I mean? The guy that I'm really intrigued by, though, right now, moving on to another player, Saquon Barkley. You know, he's having a great camp right now, and I think he's going to be a fantastic player in this offense. Will he be able to stay healthy and give us the playmaking that we need? Because the only thing that's holding Barkley back is his third down efficiency. Now, what you could do is do Jeremiah Hall and Barkley in the backfield, out of the backfield, where you don't necessarily need him to pass block. But sometimes the scenario is going to call for him to step up. Will he be able to do it? That's my only caveat with Barkley right now.
Well, the thing with Barkley is I feel like he has to get the mentality to understand that sometimes those 3 and 4 yard runs, they're good for your offense as well. And if that's what you can get, go out there and get those, man. He's got to get that home run
Right.
mentality out of his head, man. I get the talent. I get you want to score. I get all you want to make the huge play. But if it's not there, it's not
Take what the
there.
defense gives you. I
Exactly.
think
And
that's
that's
where I want to see. I think this offense and Daniel and Barkley don't play hero ball anymore. Let the talented guys around you make the plays, like a Kadarius Toney, like a Wandale Robinson. Don't be the guy that needs to hit the home run all the time. Just do what the defense gives you. And even if it's a 5 yard run, okay, I take that. Because guess what? Maybe that 5 yard run is the run that sucks up the linebacker, that gets Tony one on one with a cornerback that's weak, and Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor lays one in there nicely, and it's a big play, right? That's what I want to see. Be a bell cow, Ezekiel Elliott type of back. A guy like Ezekiel Elliott, who I know we're going back to him. I think Ezekiel is going to play a funny role. I think he's going to start the game, and then in the middle of the game, you're going to get Tony Pollard. Then he's going to end the game, especially if the Cowboys have the lead. He's going to be the guy that when the defense is tired, we don't want to give him the ball. We don't want him to have the ball because he's going to pound us. He's going to break our will. We don't want that. I need Barkley to be the break your will back I know he can be. You're 230 pounds. Break a guy's will. Make him be that guy. You have all the talent. You're basically a clone of LaDainian Tomlinson mixed in with a little Barry Sanders. Be more powerful. Use that stiff arm to your advantage. Use those shoulder pads that and lower the boom a little bit. Sometimes,
yes,
because if you watch what he did his rookie year, a couple of those runs came inside when he was decisive and ran down the A gap.
I agree. I agree. Real quick, Anthony Price. If Barkley and Jones have a bad season, is this their last year in New York? I would say
Yeah.
100%, absolutely,
Yes.
unequivocally. It's not even nothing to even debate. If they both have a bad year, as much as I love Saquon Barkley, it will be his final year in New York if he can't get it
But
done this year.
but I will say, if Barkley has a breakout campaign, I could easily see them saying bye to Jones and hello to Barkley. Saying, listen, we're going to get a young quarterback in here. We're going to need as many playmakers as we need. We need Barkley. Look what he did last year. We're going to need this guy with Tyrod Taylor. Imagine Tyrod Taylor and Barkley in the backfield at the same time. A guy who actually can run the football, not a guy who is a runner like Daniel Jones, a guy who's an athlete more so than a running quarterback. But if you got a guy like T-Mobile back there with Barkley, whoo,
It could be, that could get interesting, man. That could get interesting. But another guy I want to talk about, man, these last couple, there's been a lot of people, NYG just, excuse me, Unpopular Opinion Sports. I'm used to your old name, bro. But Unpopular Opinion Sports mentioned up here earlier in one of the comments about Kenny Galladay not quite fitting into this offense. My thing about it is you just got to use him with his proper skill set. Like he's not one of those receivers that's going to create a lot of separation. He's not a burner.
right.
He's not one of those guys. He's a big, tall guy. He's a big guy, big body. You got to just be able to get the ball up to him and put him in a position to go up and make a play on which is usually much smaller D-backs. So if you use Kenny Galladay in that way, I think he can fit into any offense. To be quite frank, I get it. He's not going to be doing all that the cool stuff that you're going to see from Wandale Robinson, we hope, or Kadarius Toney, or Barkley even. But He's a guy, like, especially these last couple of days in practice, been watching him make some impressive 50-50 catches, man. That's the way we got to use Kenny Galladay. I think last year we were trying to do a lot of weird things with him, things that totally weren't didn't fit his skill set, and we got to get him back to doing the things that he was doing when he was in Detroit. And that's just how I feel about. I think he'll be successful if we can do that and use him. You got to use the guy the way
People
he's
are
meant to
loving
be
this,
used.
Joe. People are loving this practice love, man. I mean, we all want to listen. We all want to believe what we want to believe until it happens, right? But for me, this team, you can look good in practice, but that's what it is. It is practice. Let's call a spade a spade. Everyone who's telling me Jones looks sharp, okay, I'm also reading camp reports where they're saying that some of the things he still has are his old habits aren't dying. Some of his throws are like still kind of, shaky here and there once in a while. So, yeah, I'm not trying to hate or take your dream away of this guy being a great quarterback. And even if he's good, what is his ceiling? If his ceiling, if you go into next year and you evaluate those quarterbacks and you look at them when Daniel Jones was coming out and you look at them and project where you think that they will be according to your scouting process, if that guy is better prospect than Daniel Jones coming out, then you make the move. You don't just sit there and let this guy hamstring you if he doesn't have it. Now, granted, I want to see him do it, but when has Jones looked sharp in a game? Everyone wants to tell me, oh, he looks sharp in a game. He's the guy. Facts. Like stamp on it. He's this dude. I don't. Let's see it in the game. And are we wrong to ask that? I don't think we are. Because you know what? Eli Manning looked good in practice as well when he was playing. But it comes game time, when the chaos happened, okay, and the shit hit the fan, I knew that give Eli the ball inside 2 minutes, he's going to make a decision that's right for this football team. When you sit here and you watch Daniel Jones, you're not seeing that. And just because practice is, I'm telling you, letting them continue the play on, you're missing the 5 sacks that could have happened on this team. Evan Neal is is a turnstile right now at practice. Okay, so now you're telling me that a guy who can't hit Daniel Jones looks sharp. Okay, when Bud Dupree is running circles around Evan Neal, all right, and he's careening around that corner, and Daniel Jones can't stand there with a red jersey on because now they can actually hit you. Will he be able to figure it out? That's what you need to see. This is why people, you need to understand, he needs to look sharp. He's the starting quarterback in this league. But if the backup quarterback is also looking sharp, what is that telling you? That's telling you that we have 2 good quarterbacks on the roster right now who can both play in the NFL. And that competition is probably driving Daniel Jones right now because he knows that there's a short leash. And I didn't mean to go on this rant because I really want to move on to Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas right now. That guy is looking like an absolute monster. Okay,
He's poised for an all-pro season. He's looking like he's ready.
Here's the difference between Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas. Okay, Andrew Thomas is taking the rookie to school. Kayvon Thibodeau. He's making that guy look like a fool. Kayvon Thibodeau had a rep against Evan Neal where Evan Neal got calls for holding because he went around the thing and spun around and made the play. So these are the type of things we're talking about. Evan Neal is still a work in progress. I love Evan Neal. But I also loved Andrew Thomas, who, by the way, none of you knew me prior to that. But a friend of mine who I don't talk to him right now, so I don't know if we're still friends, texted me, the Giants drafted the wrong guy. I said, why? I said, because this guy is the next Eric Flowers. And all I heard was how bad this guy was. And I said, the Giants got a good one in Andrew Thomas. Stay, hold the fort. And guess what? Through all the crappy coaches that he had, from Mark Colombo to Dave DiGuglielmo to the guy this year, I forget who he had this year Robert Sale, the guy has improved. And now we're giving him Bobby Johnson. And the guy looks like an absolute stud on the outside. And this is what I'm telling you. If Evan Neal can't block O'Shane Zimenez, how in the hell is he going to block Bud Dupree?
But see, here's my thing. Why I gotta lighten up a little bit on Evan Neal, because this is his first NFL training camp. He's a rookie. O'Shane Zimenez is a 3-year veteran, even though he hasn't been, what Giant fans wanted him to develop into yet. He's still an NFL outside linebacker. with NFL speed at that position, and
Yeah,
it's
I
and
get it.
Evan Neal has to adjust to the speed of the NFL, and this is the time for him to do that. And the preseason is going to be even more the time for him to do that. And I'm not concerned at all about Evan Neal. I think once he adjusts to all of that, he will be perfectly fine. It may take
Oh, no, I get
up
it.
to as long as half the year, half the season perhaps, but
But those are
once
the
he,
type of things that could cost us a game, right? With Bud
I
Dupree
mean,
coming around, right? Daniel Jones could get his head rocked, and we don't see him anymore because the kid misses a block right now while he's developing. I think Evan Neal is going to be a fantastic player. But what I'm trying to prove a point is right now, and you're echoing it right now, is there's a lot of young people on this offensive line. And guys that are beating him now, Bud Dupree, we do agree, is better than O'Shane Ximines.
oh, significantly better.
So I'm worried that the first couple of pass because Brian Burns ain't no slouch either.
I agree. Oh, but we're talking about young old linemen. So while we're on the topic of young old linemen, I want to shout out to this kid Joshua Zudu, who's having a pretty excellent camp as a rookie. I mean, he's looking like he's going to be pretty much kind of that first backup at almost at right now at this point. It could be at any of the four positions other than center, obviously not because
Right.
he's
Well, not yet.
having that tremendous of a camp. He's having that good of a camp right now, where they've been able to plug this guy in at left tackle, left guard, right tackle, and he's just answering the call, man. So I want to give him props for having a really good, strong camp right now, and he could even still potentially win a starting job on this offensive line. It's not said hasn't not been written in stone yet, and this guy is one of those rookies that I've been really impressed with thus far in the first week of training camp.
I agree. I think the Giants are starting to have some guys develop. Again, he's a rookie. And, the only thing that makes me happy is that if he does play the left side, who, by the way, Shane Lemieux is not having a bad camp either,
No, he's not.
to be honest with you. And I'd rather start Shane Lemieux than him just because of his experience. And so yes. Hold on one second.
But unpopular sports opinion once again, man. I do these games. People always bring these games up, but there's one game I got to always give Daniel Jones a little bit of props for. Is one that we lost, and that was last season, week 2 against the Washington Commanders, and that is Jones is nowhere near the reason we lost that football game. He definitely did more than his part in that game and did more than enough for us to win that football game on that Thursday night against Washington. And honestly, I think other people on the team let him down that game. Darius Slayton dropping a wide open touchdown pass. That would have been the game winner right there. Daniel Jones put it pretty much right in his hands. It wasn't necessarily all the way perfect, but it was damn sure a catchable football that an NFL wide receiver should have caught. So I always got to add that game to the list of Daniel Jones' career highlights because that was also a very good game for Daniel Jones. It just unfortunately didn't work out for the Giants team that particular night.
Yes, I mean, he's had some games where you're like, okay, but the consistent Daniel Jones has been consistent at being inconsistent. Okay, that's his problem. But let's keep moving on to the defensive side of the football. I know that we're talking about Zudu. I like him. I want to talk about Leo Williams because I think he really is flying under the radar here. He's having an excellent camp. I am absolutely
dominant.
Right. Exactly. Use the correct terminology. Dominant camp. I mean, unbelievable. Like he is beating anybody in front of him. And I think that we need to take that into consideration. I think he's going to have like an 8-sack season. Is that out of the realm of possibilities?
Totally agree. I mean, I don't think so, and I hope so. As a matter of fact, I'm like I said, hoping that guys on the outside can take a little more pressure off of him, and allow him to just be able to go and deal with more one-on-ones, and then I think for sure he may even hit double digits if that's the case. If he can get Aziz and Kayvon Thibodeau on the outside, getting consistent pressure from the outside, and then you got to start maybe doubling up one of those guys, man, and then get one-on-one in the inside. He's going to win those battles most of the time, man. He's just that
I
good of a
don't
player, man.
I don't I don't think that this is a bad thing for him, right? I think he's never had. I don't think Wink Martindale's had a guy like Leo Williams on his team. Maybe Calais Campbell, you could say, but I think Leo Williams is a little different player than Calais Campbell. And I'm just thinking that Wink Martindale is really designing a defense to get his best defensive tackle and arguably one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. Pressure rate wise, I know he doesn't get talked about like that, but he's a pretty good player, and I like Leo Williams. I have never had a problem with him. I really didn't even care about the trade because we were talking about third round pick, who, by the way, nobody even knows who he is right now. Okay, so who was that third round pick? The safety, Austin Davis or something like that from the Jets. Who gives a damn, right? Nobody gives a damn. Meanwhile, we have a guy who in the last 2 years had 11 and a half sacks, played through injury last season, had 6.5 sacks, and not to mention in 2020, had the highest pressure rate of a defensive tackle. So, I'm really excited for Leo Williams. I hope he has a big year. Dexter Lawrence moving to nose tackle is kind of interesting. I know he's not going to have the production sack-wise that we hope he's going to have, but I think he's going to help with the linebackers. The only thing I'm worried about is the linebackers right now. Well, I like Blake Martinez. Darren Beavers, I'm hearing some good things.
It's the linebacker depth that I'm concerned with more so than necessarily the starters, for say. I feel like the depth is where we have an issue with linebackers, maybe.
The only other concern I'm having is this run defense. I'm hearing they're getting torched by our offensive line. And let's hope that that's not a trend that continues on because our opening 3 games have running backs that are pretty dominant in the league in Henry, McCaffrey, and Ezekiel Elliott. Okay? Exactly. So if our run defense is bad, this is one of those things where I don't want to have a pass rush and then have a bad run defense because that's going to change everything.
Hopefully that's an aberration. We know Saquon Barkley's been having an amazing camp, and hopefully it's also has a little bit to do with that he's just that level of talent that he's making it tough on the defense. I kind of want to chalk it up and hope it's that, but like you said, we got Derrick Henry week 1, Christian McCaffrey week 2, Ezekiel Elliott / Tony Pollard week 3. That's right. That's a lot to deal with. That is a lot to deal with out the gate.
and that is one of the things that is concerning. The Giants' run defense last year wasn't great either. So it wasn't like we had a powerhouse run game defense last year. So if they're struggling right now against our run fits in practice, and I know it's Saquon Barkley we're talking about, but you're out the gate, you're coming with some real heavy hitters that can turn a game in one play, and so for me, I just want to that's the thing I'm really worried about is as you go forward, because let's play devil's advocate for a minute, right? Let's say the run defense is our weakness. That's where the play action for other teams gets set up. That's how you lose. That's how Aaron Robinson gets beat one-on-one or Dory Jackson gets beat one-on-one because, McKinney now has to come down to the box and stop the run, which is taking him away from what he does best, and that's roam the field.
It's taking him way away from what he does best because he is.
And so now you're going to Wink Martindale, who's not going to be shy about blitzing you to stop the run game as well. Now you have one-on-one with maybe a competent quarterback like Aaron Rodgers or somebody along that line, right? Even Ryan Tannehill, he's not the greatest, but he can play in the NFL. Sees this one-on-one matchup, maybe against the Robert Woods, who kind of does a shimmy shake and gets behind Aaron Robinson for a big game. That's how big the run defense is, and that'll kind of stifle that pass rush.
Totally. We hope they can get that together. Like I said, that's something we really hope can come together. Like I said, I'm hoping that has a little bit to do with the fact that the talent of Saquon Barkley and the offensive line maybe actually truly getting better. Hoping that's what I kind of want to hope that is right now, more of. But we'll
that's
see,
not
man.
a good thing, though.
We'll see we'll get a first look at it against the Patriots next Thursday evening. We'll get our first little look.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how this preseason I'm very excited for the first time in a long time. I really can't wait for the games. I know we have a game tomorrow, the Hall of Fame game, but and we'll address that Andrew Adams comment in 1 second. But I'm really excited to see how some of these young players get play. I know that Andrew Adams came back. I think that's a great pick. And what timing, right? They lose Dane Belton, but we gain Andrew Adams. So I really thought that's a good pickup. I think he's going to play a little bit more than you think, especially if the cornerbacks go down. I could see them moving Julian Love to the cornerback position and saying to him, "Hey, listen, we need your expertise in this area of the field. We could put Andrew Adams back there, and he can hold the fort."
Yeah, I mean Andrew Adams is a good pickup. It's clutch. You get a good veteran guy that has a lot of experience here in the league, and he's kind of without the order for this defense and that back end, that secondary. I mean, we're not act like Andrew Adams is like fucking Earl Thomas or somebody like that, but at the same time, man, he's legit. He's a good, solid veteran safety, and
He's
and,
a
and, it,
solid player.
and it's going to make a difference on this defense. And it's going to make a difference in that D back room. So I'm okay. I'm definitely more than okay with that. I'm very happy we brought a guy like
Especially,
that in.
like I'm saying, I love Julian Love. I think he's a good player. But if push comes to shove and Aaron Robinson goes down and you don't want to move Darnay Holmes because he's having a great year at slot corner and Rodarius Williams is maybe not on the team or not where you want him to be, why not move Julian Love there? You have a veteran guy like Andrew Adams who can hold the fort and give you serviceable play there. He doesn't, like you said, doesn't have to be Troy Polamalu.
Has this been confirmed, Blue City Empire? Because I mean, I heard some rumors about him possibly returning, but I haven't seen any confirmation of that yet. And I'm curious if he did come back. Where like I get
I'm
what
looking at
the season he had last year, but at the same time, we've already brought in Matt Breida. You got a couple other young guys. You still got Brightwell, who was a draft pick from a year ago.
I know that they brought him in for a workout. I know that
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to sign him or just keep him on the short list of players where if someone gets injured, right, he'll be on there. You know what I mean? So he'll be on that short list of guys that will be called up in case Antonio Williams goes down or Gary Brightwell.
Yeah, I mean, because right now you figure they'll probably keep like 3 halfbacks and maybe a fullback. Maybe I don't really see much more than that.
Yeah.
And you already got Saquon Barkley, and I would think Matt Breida pretty much have almost guaranteed. Well, Saquon Barkley definitely has a guaranteed spot. I like to think unless Matt Breida falls flat on his face, his spot is almost all but guaranteed too. So
I think they're just doing their due diligence with this type of move to kind of be like, okay, you're in shape, you're on the market. We play some heavy hitting teams. Guy goes down, we can bring you in quickly. You know what I mean?
Okay, I got you. He said, okay, yeah, he said he meant to just say they brought him in for a workout. Okay, yeah, we're on the same page with that then. Yeah, I heard about that already. But now this back end, we were talking about Andrew Adams in the back end, the safeties, the corners, like some of these cornerbacks, these young cornerbacks, talking about guys who are going to step up. Right now, the kid from LSU, what's his name, Cordell Flott. He's been a little up. He's been a little up and down so far from things I've been seeing in camp. A little up and down, but like I said, he's young, playing that corner spot. A lot of pressure on him. It's pretty much a spot wide open for the taking. Somebody's got something to get it. Aaron Robinson has probably the inside edge for it, but you got the other young guys really making a push. Darnay Holmes is probably looking like he's definitely trying to be the starting slot corner for us, man. That nickel back for us, man. He's having a really good camp. He's already got I think they said like 4 or 5 picks. Only 3. Oh, I thought it was more than that. But
well, he might have more. I mean, the DB. I mean, Adoree Jackson finally catching some picks. I mean, thank God. Taking some to the house. But you brought up a good point. I think it's good to see Darnay Holmes. I'm just nervous that he's going to get injured because he's always been a decent player. Like he was decent his rookie season. He was decent last year. And then he got injured, and I'm just hoping that he can play a full season because this is what I'm talking about. If you, let's say Rodarius Williams or Aaron Robinson's not working out, maybe you move Julian Love there because you don't want to move Darnay Holmes, who could be a valuable asset to the team in that direction. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather keep Holmes there. I'm not trying to wish injuries upon him. I'm just looking as a overall view. If I'm a coach, right, and I'm making my roster evaluations and I'm making my cuts, and I go down the list, left, right, left, right, left, right. I'm probably gonna keep Andrew Adams because Julian Love has that versatility to move around, and it allows me to keep less cornerbacks. Jerron Williams already got cut, a guy they liked last year. He's gone for another guy who probably won't make the team. But now, these are the type of things you have to look at.
I mean, that's your fact. Julian Love, I think we don't give this guy enough credit for his versatility, the things he brings to the defense. You're right. He can play almost every position in the secondary, basically, if needed. You know what I mean? And that's kind of a good thing. That's a good thing to have, a good guy to have out there, like a guy that you can rely on no matter who goes down. If necessary, we can slide Julian Love in that spot, and that's definitely key. And here on this comment here, excuse me, the secondary it will have a real issue with just any injury, man. With the way, like you said, wing defense, style of defense. You're right. Any of the starters go down, man, it can be a big problem back there. So we got to really hope for the best there. This Belton injury, I can't remember exactly what it is. Something that's going to keep him out for a while. A shoulder.
Separated shoulder. I collarbone. Excuse me. He's not going to be
ready for the season.
He's not going to be
ready for the regular season.
What you could do, though, is you could put him on PUP if you wanted to and let him come back 10 weeks. This way he can be around the team and rehab and blah, blah, blah. Kind of like what they did with Xavier McKinney. This way it gives you a roster spot to keep like an Andrew Adams. I mean, those are the type of funky things you might see going forward. And they have a scrimmage on Friday. Let's get into that real quick. Tomorrow they'll probably be in Shells, and then they have a scrimmage on Friday. You're going to start to learn a little bit more and more about this team going forward. You also might start seeing some injuries, unfortunately, as the intensity gets ramped up going forward.
It's football. It happens. You know what I mean? No team can avoid it. As far as Alderson Smith, I haven't heard much about. I actually haven't heard a whole lot about him, and that could be a good or a bad thing. You know what I mean?
I think he's doing well, but he still has some developmental issues in terms of his game to work on. I don't know if he fits this scheme per se, but we'll find out.
Well, that's what these guys do. These guys come from these smaller schools, man. He was a Northern Iowa guy, right? And
yes,
same thing with O'Shane Zimenez, Old Dominion. These aren't exactly powerhouse football factories that these guys went to. These guys play in small conferences in the subdivision, as a matter of fact. And so they get the fact that they even get acknowledged and that they're getting recognition to even get drafted into the NFL says something about their at least their ability. You know what I mean? Because guys from schools like that don't get a lot of opportunities to play in the league. That's just it is what it is. So for them to be able to stand out enough in the Senior Bowl when they had their opportunities to get, it's still a testament to their ability. Now we like to see like O'Shane Zimenez turn that corner. Like he's been having a tremendous camp, and I know some people are getting hype on O'Shane Zimenez, but I'm going to tell y'all pump them brakes because it once again this is practice. And sure, he's been making our first round draft pick look a little foolish at times, and Evan Neal he has. But at the same time, he's a veteran. Evan Neal's the rookie. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing as being the veteran player. So in this league. So I'm not going to jump on that O'Shane Zimenez bandwagon until I see him do it in the games on Sundays because Lorenzo Carter was the is the all-star practice guy. He was the all-star practice guy. And he could never consistently put it together on Sundays, man. So
yes.
At this point now, at this stage of O'Shane Zimenez's career, you got to show it to me on Sundays, bro. At this point, practice ain't enough.
I hear you.
But yeah, you wanted to talk about the scrimmage on Friday at the Fan Fest.
Yes, the Fan Fest is going on. Check it out, Giants.com. It's probably sold out, but it's going to be, a blue and white scrimmage, offense versus defense. We'll really get to see how good our team is and how well they play. I mean, Wink Martindale is going to bring the house. I think it should be fun. But then you have the preseason the following week, which will actually be a better test because you'll get to see game plan action, and that's where you get to really see if your team stacks up. Because remember last preseason, the offensive line was terrible in the preseason, and we thought it was going to be a shit show, and it ended up being a shit show. We'll really find out this preseason what kind of team we have.
Yeah, we definitely will, man. Man, I don't know what you really expected to see out this scrimmage. It's a scrimmage, and they're not going to be out there trying to kill each other. Obviously, yo, what's going on, Authentic? Thanks for stopping in, bro. But they're obviously not going to be out there trying to kill each other. It's a scrimmage,
No,
and
I
this
will
is
not be a
it's
fan for Authentic, unfortunately.
yeah. I'm not, unfortunately, either. I got a busy schedule on Friday, man. So I ain't
If
gonna
I
be able to
lived
drive
around the
there.
corner like I used to, when I used to live up in that area, I lived in the shadow of the stadium. Yes, I'd be there. But now there's a lot of moving parts, and no, I will not be there. Probably better
Yeah.
for that. Better. Anyways, ever since I've been going to camp, they haven't done well. So maybe I'm the black cloud that needs to revive this team, right?
I
Maybe if
wouldn't
I
say
don't go to
all that.
camp, maybe if I don't go to camp, they'll do better.
If I was like if I wasn't as busy on Friday as I am, I would definitely I would have took that ride up there because I haven't been up to MetLife Stadium in a couple of years now. But as for that, I wouldn't expect to see too much. You're just gonna see a little bit. Basically, you're just gonna see a glorified practice session. It just is that you're not gonna see too much craziness. So we'll maybe see some positive things. See how Daniel Jones, what kind of command he has of this offense. You get to see those basic things, but like I said, it's
See
still
if
just a
he's staring down.
glorified
See if he's
practice.
staring guys down or not.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just saying. I mean, that's
you're not
what
going
you
to be
get to
seeing
see.
the big hits from the defensive from the defenders. You're not going to be out there teeing off on Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor, man. You know what I mean? It's just not going. You're not going to see anything.
Man,
They're
if
going
we
to
only
still have
had
their
Bill
red.
Parcells, we'd really find out what this kid's made of.
They're going to still have their red jerseys on, and it's I'm pretty sure you're not going to see anybody tackling Saquon Barkley. So it just is what it is. It's going to be a fun day for the fans. I hope anybody that's going up definitely enjoy it, man. I just wish I could be a part of it.
I do too, but you know what? This year it's not in the cards for me to go to camp. Next year, definitely, I'll try to make it up because Ryan Dayball usually has his camps at like 10 a.m. Like, man, I ain't trying to go there no 10 a.m. I live a little way, a little ways away. 10 a.m. when you live around the corner, that's a different story. 10 a.m. when you live, damn near over 50 miles away. That's not as easy
Yeah, it
of
takes me about an hour and a half to get up to MetLife from here from my crib. But
roughly
like I
the
said, I
same,
just say what?
same, roughly the same.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this has been a good show, my brother, man. Unless you got any more final thoughts, get ready to
My
wrap this
final
one up,
thoughts
man.
are, people, let's take this easy. It's practice. We want to be excited. I know that Daniel is doing well. That's good. But the real bullet's flying. And from now on, from now until the end of February or to the middle of February, you're going to have football. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy watching the young guys develop. Enjoy watching this team having a offense that's not in the 1980s. You know, and enjoy the development of some of these, like I said, some of these players. Watch the maturation of Evan Neal. Watch how Kayvon Thibodeau comes in, and just know that with everything being said, however I sound, I'm with you guys. I'm on this train. I want us to do well. I'm going to be there every Sunday cheering my the Blue Man Group on, and let's have fun. All right, let's have fun. Enough of
Yeah,
this division. We will find out what we find out, and I want to say this real quick. If Daniel does well, that's good for me because that means my team's doing well. Okay, and that means we're doing well.
thanks.
If Daniel does well, that's good for him as well because he can breathe. It doesn't change my life either way. So hey, if he does well, I'm ready. I'm lining up for everyone to give me a shiner on the chin, because I know that's what will be coming. But if he doesn't do well, we're here to, get you through that sorrow. But Mac, that's all I have on the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, just pretty much like what you just said, man. Everybody just enjoy the fact that football is back. Temper y'all expectations, though, man. We got a young team. As far as we got a lot to prove, we got an overhaul on this roster. We got a whole new coaching staff in here. New GM, things are changing. We don't know what to truly expect from this team. We all hoping for the best, but look at this division. The Eagles look more ready. The Cowboys look more ready. And to be quite frank, the Washington Commanders look more ready too. Don't sleep on the Washington Commanders this season. I want to urge all that. Don't just say, oh, we always beat them and take them for granted. The Washington Commanders is right now.
Year, by the way.
Yeah, don't sleep on that football team. I think too many people are right now, and I think they're a very dangerous team. So that's all I got for this week. And like I said at the top of the show, we are officially back each and every Wednesday evening until the season, until every NFC East team is eliminated from the season. So we are all the way back from here until January, baby. Every Wednesday with the real deal NFC East Round-up. Cue that, Mom. I'm now going to cue that outro, baby, and see y'all up, and I'm going to peace y'all out. Peace.
Have a good one.
I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants Fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants Fan. That's MacDa Giants Fan.